Welcome back, YouTube. In this tutorial, we'll be going over how to create a SwiftUI project, set up, sign in with Apple, and then actually log in with Firebase as the back end. I'll show you step by step on how to create a Firebase app, how to create a simple UI app with two different screens, a dashboard view, So here we have our normal app. So we're just going to go ahead and make sure app is selected, hit next. I'm sure you guys have already done this. We're just going to call this two screens. From there, we're going to go ahead and make sure SwiftUI is added there. We don't need core data, just hit next. Save it wherever you want to save it at. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and make our simple app. So we're going to have our content view. We're going to leave this app alone. We're going to make the content view where it shows up. In the content view is where we're going to do some logic, which I'll show you in a second. But from the two screens, go ahead and do new file. And from there, make sure you click on new SwiftUI view. And we're going to call this login view. Do that same process again, new file, SwiftUI view, and name this one dashboard view. Okay, so the login view is where you're going to actually click on sign in with Apple, and then the dashboard view is going to be the next view that showed you that yes, you are in fact signed in. So go to login view real quick and let's do a little bit of touches here. So we're going to add a Z stack. From there, we're going to add the color because we want to change the color of the background. So for login, let's go ahead and do yellow. And then you'll see if I hit resume here, it's yellow, but on the top and on the bottom, you have white. So the way you fix that is you add a modifier and do ignore safe edges, and then it'll go ahead and fill out the whole thing. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add real quick a text here that says, this is the sign in. Our login. This is the login view. Okay, so go ahead and copy the Z stack. Go into your dashboard view and delete this text here and paste what we just copied. Except yellow, we're going to go with something else. So I'm going to go with green. And then this is the dashboard view. Cool. So now we'll know, we'll hit resume here. Now we'll know when we're actually logged in because you'll see this dashboard view. If you want to make this a little bit nicer, you can do the font or bigger and then just do .large title so it's a little bit bigger. Good enough for me. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and grab our bundle identifier here, which I'm going to delete this and name it test. You guys make sure your bundle identifier is whatever your app says. Go ahead and copy that. And now let's go ahead and hit go into Google or whatever browser you use. And you want to go into Firebase. So if you're not familiar, go ahead and just type in Firebase and you'll see this very first one that shows up is firebase.google.com. Click on that. If you don't have a Firebase account, pause this real quick, go and make you one. It's very easy. And then you'll come to this screen here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hit go to console. From there, we're going to add a new project. Enter your project name. I'm just going to call this two screens because that's what we have in there. You're going to just leave this the same and hit continue. Select the account, just use the default account. And then go ahead and let that create or spin up your Firebase project. All right, it looks like it's finishing up now. Go ahead and hit continue. And now we're inside. You can see the two screens are inside here. Now we're going to tell it what kind of app we have. We have an iOS app. And then it's going to set this up to show us how to go ahead and register our app. So before I do that, you can see I've already done this once where I have my Google service plist here. I'm going to go real quick into my downloads, and I'm going to delete that service Google plist just so I don't get two of them. I'll move that to trash because you can have some issues if you do. So we're going to delete that. So right here, that bundle ID is that same one we copied from here. So this is the one you want to copy, not the one in my app, the one that's in your app. Okay, paste it right here. Then app name, give it whatever you want. I'll name it 2 screens. Or you can leave it blank, does not matter, leave this blank. Hit register app. Great, now you want to download this service plist, and this is why. If I didn't download, or if I didn't delete this, then this at the very end would say 2, because it's the second download with the exact same name. And that gives you issues if you drag that into Firebase. So that's why I deleted that. But you want to go ahead and take this and grab it and pull it into here. I like to put it right underneath the info plist. And then make sure copy items is if needed is checked. And also create folder references. Go ahead and hit finish, and now you'll see the Google is right underneath your info plist. Great. So now we are able to actually talk to Firebase. That's what that's basically doing. But now we got to go back to Firebase console, hit next, and see what else we have to do. So the older way of doing this is you make a pod file and then add all the Firebase things that you need inside of there. So you can see right here they're using an example pod Firebase Analytics. The newer way with SwiftUI is you can use Swift Package Manager. So go ahead and hit File here, and you'll go down here to Swift Packages and then go to Add Package Dependency. We're not going to use pods for this one. Okay, so now we're needing a URL. Well, I don't know the URL by heart, but it's very easy to find. So we're going to do Firebase Package. Wow, if I knew how to spell, that would be great. Manager. And then the very first thing that pops up, go ahead and click on that. That's a step-by-step, and you can see right here, this is the GitHub repository. So copy this. That's how easy it was to find it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go back here, paste this into here, and let that go ahead and get to our next page. Right here, it's going to ask, hey, so if you're not familiar with pods, you would have to update pods if your third parties have updates. So sometimes you'd go to run your project and it says, hey, this is outdated or this is no longer supported. So you go run a pod update and a pod install to go ahead and get new pods. Well, we no longer have to do that with this way because we can set it to always update to the next major update. Or you can change it to whatever version you want to do. I like to leave it on next major. And then it automatically is doing this behind the scenes for you, and you don't have to worry about the updates anymore, which is pretty awesome. I'm going to keep it on master. You can make whatever branch you want this to be enabled for right here by changing that. But I'm going to leave it where it's at. Hit next. It's going to go ahead and resolve this, and then it's going to take us to that next page, which you'll see here what I was talking about. Pod Firebase Analytics. So depending on what you're doing in your app will depend on this next step on what exactly you want to get out of this. But while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and we'll come back to that in a second. This is the next part. So we used to have this app delegate, which in SwiftUI 2.0 and newer, we no longer have this. Now you could add your own app delegate if you want, and you just search Google to do that. But there's a faster route of doing this. The main thing is we need to have this Firebase app.configure inside of our app. So that's what we need to focus on here. So let's go ahead and look at our project. There, this actually finished, so we're going to do this really quick and then we'll start that part. So these are what we're looking for, whatever we want in our app. So I want analytics. I want auth. You need auth if we're doing sign in with Apple. And later on, I might do a database. So I want to go ahead and click on that database. Firestore. So I might click on that Firestore. And then lastly, if you want to go in and add this Firebase storage, you can, or messaging, whatever you're using. Then you're going to go ahead and hit finish, and that's going to spin all of those up right here, and you'll see that. So it's really, really quick. here they all are. And now whenever we go back to this step that I was talking about to add this Firebase app.configure, it's going to understand what that means because Firebase is now added into the project. So go back to your 2 screens app so you can see of type app. This is the first thing that basically gets initialized whenever the app opens. If you sit right here, or you right here, if you put your init, and then you put that Firebase app dot, I already forgot, what is it? Firebase app dot configure. It's not going to understand the Firebase yet because we haven't imported it. But if you go up here and you import it, now it's going to say, oh, well, we know what Firebase is now. Maybe I didn't spell that right. Oh, configure, is it lowercase? It is, so it's lowercase, my bad. So there you go. So now as soon as the app opens up, this is going to trigger, fire off, and then you're going to be automatically inside of Firebase. Great, so now let's go back here and hit next. Now we're going to continue to console. The next thing we need to do is make sure Firebase, or sign in with Apple, is enabled. So we're going to go here to authentication. We're going to go ahead and hit get started. Then we're going to go to sign in method tab, go down to Apple. See how it's disabled right now? Go ahead and hit that pencil, turn it on, so enable it. And then don't worry about doing anything in here. We don't need to do it for this project. So go ahead and hit save, and now you'll see Apple is enabled. Now we got to do a similar thing on this side inside of Xcode. So we are going to go ahead and hit the 2 screens, or your app. Then you want to go ahead and hit your target, go and sign in capabilities, and you don't see sign in with Apple, but it says, hey, if you want to add one, hit the plus button above. So there is one down here that's not above though. Above is up here. Go ahead and click on that and type in Apple, and you'll see sign in with Apple. Now, if you don't have a developer account, so I just drug that in, but if you don't have a developer account, you need to go create one. I believe it is $100 a year, but if you're doing a sign in with Apple, you're more than likely going to be putting this app out on the App Store, and you're unable to do that without having a developer account anyways. A developer account, goodness. So go ahead and do that, and then this part will work. This will not be able to be seen, though, if you do not have one. So now that we are enabled here and we're enabled here in Firebase, it's time to move on to the next step. So we're going to go ahead and add an auth. So whenever we sign in, we want it to go ahead and tell us, hey, if this is signed in, turn to true. So the way we're going to do that is very simply go to a new file here, and I have my code over here. I'm just going to copy it, but you want to type in user auth because that's what we're going to be using, and then we're going to create this class here. So all we need to import is combine, and then the rest here. Now the reason why I'm copying and pasting is I'm going to do all of this in one. So it is going to be a little bit longer video, so I'm trying to save as much time as I can. But yes, it's just a class user auth of type observable object, and then it's going to be at published. var is logged in. We're going to first off set this to false, which you'll see why in a little bit. And then the function, whenever this triggers, hey, we're going to turn this to true. Okay, so that's the user auth. Go ahead and save that part. Then we're going to go back into your content view, copy this, and in the content view, we're going to basically say, hey, delete this text. We don't need the text or the padding here, but we're going to say, hey, navigate view is what we're going to use. If user auth is logged in, or I'm sorry, is not logged in, then we're going to go to login view. But if it is logged in, we're going to go to the dashboard view. Okay, but now it doesn't know what a user auth is yet because we haven't told it, which is at the top. So we are going to go ahead and copy this and make an environment variable up here, or object. So environment object var user auth of type user auth. Now the reason why we set this up here as an observable because now it can be observed. So now if you look in content view, now it's the environment variable. Great. So now we are going to go ahead and look at your app again. So your app file, and you're going to go underneath this content view now, and then you're going to add that dot environment object, and inside that do the user auth. So now it knows, and now in every view it can grab this. All right, so now let's go ahead and go back to login view, and then now let's start implementing this sign in with Apple. So we're going to go back to our Firebase. Now, if you don't know where sign in with Apple is or how to do it, I didn't either when I first did it. So I went to the docs, which is at the top right, and I said search sign in with Apple. And then it brings you up a whole bunch of results. I just went down the list. Android, no. JavaScript, no. iOS, yes. Sign in with Apple on iOS. Sounds great. Let's do it. So I clicked on that. So that's where I found it. If you guys have any questions inside of Firebase, their docs does a really good job. Again, it's at the top right side of your screen. All right, so let's scroll down and begin. So you'll see right here it says enable. We've already enabled it in both our project on Firebase and also our project in Xcode. So skip over this enable part. Then you want to go down here and get to this first spot. And it says, for every sign-in request, generate a random string or a nonce, which you will, use to make sure the ID you get was granted specifically in response to your app's authentication request. So it generates this random string, and then that's what they use to help log you in. So they're like, hey, this is random, this needs a match, boom, it does, great. And then they let you in. So we need to go ahead and copy this function right here. You don't have to do anything special, just copy it. Go back to your login view, and right here underneath this login view, paste it right here above the var body. Okay? Now, after that, go back to your Firebase. What's next? Well, now we need to start Apple sign-in flow, including your request, the SHA-256 hash of the nonce, and the delegate class will handle the app's response. So we need to have this function here that grabs the actual that creates this actual SHA-256. So right here, this private func, go ahead and grab this all the way down to this. Copy this, skip over this unhashed nonce, we don't need that right now. But also look, it says import CryptoKit. So I'm gonna let it air out, but I can already tell by by this documentation here that we're more than likely going to need this CryptoKit here with using this stuff, or we'll get errors. So let's see if I'm right. So we're going to go ahead and paste this here. So there that new function is, and it's like, whoa, what is this SHA-256? We don't know where that is. And that's because we need to import that CryptoKit, and now watch, that error goes away. Great. See, like a lot of times you see these tutorials and they're like, wow, how did these people find this out? They're just looking at the documentation and other videos and doing the same thing, guys. That's all they're doing. So, it tells you right here, hey, import that. That's why we're importing it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually go down here to this guy, and you're going to see handle Apple's response in your implementation. ASAuthorizationAppleIDCredential controller delegate if sign-in was successful. So that's where we're putting this. Use the ID token from Apple's response with unhashed nonce to authenticate with Firebase. So here is the func that we're needing. Okay, and then we don't need this part here. Now, I have looked over some things and I found a switch statement that does this exact same thing, except it looks a lot nicer and handles a lot nicer. So we're going to use that one. But before we do that, I'm going to go into this, delete this as login view, give it some space so you guys can see this. And we're going to go up here to this plus, just type in Apple, and then you'll see the sign in with Apple button, paste it right there. And now we'll see, hey, on request, what are we going to do? And on completion, what are we going to do? Well, on request, I'm going to show you guys exactly what we do there. And then on completion, which is what this is saying, hey, if it's successful on completion, we're going to do this, which is going to be that switch statement. So go ahead and follow along with me on this. the very top, we're going to need two things. We're going to need the same environment variable, object, and that's going to be var user auth of type user auth. Okay, because we need to grab this whenever we log in. The next thing we're going to need is a state variable, which is the currentNonce. That's going to be of type string. Okay, so this is how we're going to keep track of that nonce. Now, let's go back down here to this onRequest. Oh, and here's another thing. Cannot find sign in with Apple button in scope. That's weird. Why can't you? That doesn't make any sense. So let's go ahead and go to Google real quick and just say can't find sign in with Apple in scope SwiftUI. Okay? Okay, cannot get email sign in with button not found in scope Swift 2. That sounds pretty legit. Oh, look, it says the namespace of sign in with Apple button has moved from SwiftUI to authenticate services since beta 6. So all we have to do is import this authentication services. So let's copy that and go back to our app and try that out. Okay, so now since it's no longer in SwiftUI, it's saying it's here. Let's see if that finds it. And boom, now it knows sign in with Apple. All I did was Google that. Okay, so now let's finish our request, guys. So on the request and request in, we want to do this. You want to take the let nonce equal random nonce string, which was what that function up there was, and then we're going to take that current nonce that we created and set that to equal that nonce. So that's how we're going to grab this. So this is going to equal whatever we return from that function up there. So real quick, this is going to create a random string and return it. This is going to set this nonce to that random string. Then this is going to set that current nonce that we created up there as a state variable to that random string. So that's how we have it. It's just keeping track. It's all that's doing. Okay, now we're going to do a request dot request scopes. Whoa. And my mouse is going crazy. All right, I apologize. I don't know what that was, but my computer just went crazy, started typing stuff, trying to delete stuff from my OBS Studio, and I just had to restart. So we are back now and ready to go. So, okay, so let's get back into this. So currentNonce is equal to nonce, and now we need to do that request again. So we're going to go ahead and do a request dot request. And you'll see you have this requested operation or scopes. Scopes is the contact information to be requested from the user during authentication. That's what we want. Okay, now we're going to equal this to be two brackets, and we're going to do dot full name, comma, dot email. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is request dot nonce. Okay, and we're going to set that to equal the SHA-256, which is what we created here, is that hash. So where are we at? Right here, this private funcs, SHA-256. Now this needs to input a type of string. So what are we going to put inside of here? Well, we're going to put that nonce that we grabbed. So we're going to grab that random string, put it in here, and then that's going to equal to this request nonce. Great. Now let's talk about this on completion. Again, inside of here, this is what you're supposed to do. Am I back to it? Yeah, when it's successful, do this. So I'll add this in the description so you guys can copy this, or you guys can use this as well. It's whatever you'd like to do, but this switch statement, I've seen others use it, and it works pretty well, so I like using it. So we're going to go right here. Let me copy it for you guys. And then we'll go back into here. So on this completion, paste this here. I'm going to Command Alt, Control I, and that'll make that look a little nicer. But now we're going to see a few things. We're going to see right here describing this auth. It doesn't know what that is. Why does it not know what that is? Right here, OAuth provided, auth.auth. It doesn't know any of this because we don't have Firebase authentication up here. So we need to import Firebase auth. If you guys can hear the dogs in the background, I apologize. But now all those errors go away. Now we're ready to roll, okay? So we have this sign in with Firebase, or sign in with Apple, and then we have this on request, we're gonna do this, and on completion, we're gonna do this. Now, here's one thing that we wanna look at. Inside of here, we're gonna see, hey, if this is true, we're gonna print signed in, and we're gonna turn this user auth.login. We're gonna go ahead and run this function. If you remember back over here on this user auth, that's going to turn this login to true. And if it's true, if you look back over here on your content view, if this turns to true, then it's going to All right, so now I have my phone plugged in, ready to go. We're going to go ahead and run this and see if it is working. So let's click on this. Oh, first off, we're going to see one thing that does not look good, and that's sign in with Apple. The button's way too big. So really quick, let's go ahead and fix that. We're going to go ahead and go to the login view again, and then right down here on this little closing parentheses here, you want to add a frame. So I already have the frame ready to go, so I'll go ahead and paste this, but you can put whatever you want here. Apple is particular in the size, so you can do your own research on how big you want it. I'll let you guys determine that, but this is what I have here. You can copy me if you'd like, and I'll add this in description as well for you guys. So let's go ahead and rerun this again and see what it looks like. Much better. Okay, so let's hit sign in with Apple. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do hide. I want to hide my email, my face scan. Good, going in, and boom, this is a dashboard view. So everything is working. And that is going to do it for signing in with Apple with Firebase as the back end. Guys, I hope this was beneficial to you. If you did learn and like this, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to see my upcoming content, ring that bell as I will alert you every time I put something new out. And lastly, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, as that helps my channel get more popular and get my content out to others who may benefit as well. Thank you so much, and as always, have a wonderful